this opportunity, and I do not want to take it off the ballot. That's where I stand.
You just confirmed what I said. You said that if they vote yes, then we'll change the ordinance.
We will fix what has to be fixed.
So they're voting on something that we're going to have to change.
It is a
right. But you also
let me go back. Let me go back to the original time that we took it off. We were told that our pro-wind ordinance that we were advertising was not a pro-wind ordinance. It was against wind. It did not allow them to build windmills, and that's why we withdrew it. It was preventative. And that's why we withdrew it. It wasn't for any other reason. Because we advertised a pro-wind. This is still a pro-wind ordinance. This is still a pro-wind ordinance. It has some changes that have to be made, but it is a pro-wind ordinance. And it gives people a chance to vote. It is not illegal. Of all the lawyers that looked at it, none of them said it's illegal.
90 changes.
But
it's a flawed document. You're asking the people to vote on something that needs to be changed before they vote on it. But you just said if they vote no, you've agreed to rewrite an ordinance, and that ordinance will have to go back to the people for a vote.
Either way.
So if they vote yes, and we have to change this ordinance, then that ordinance has to go back to the people for a vote again.
Right. It isn't. We aren't voting on the ordinance. This is only the vehicle to give the people of Dixfield what they have been demanding. They've been demanding a vote on windmills, and we have never given it to them.
Chairman,
and this is their chance to do it.
The question states, shall an ordinance entitled Wind Energy Ordinance for the Town of Dixfield be enacted? They're voting on a wind ordinance, not just a yes or no question on whether they want wind.
No,
they're voting on a document.
It's the vehicle.
Which is a flawed vehicle.
Well, it's still a pro-wind ordinance.
I think
I agree it's a pro-wind ordinance. It was written by individuals that were pro-wind, so it's a pro-wind ordinance. I agree with you 100%. It was not people that were for or against or neutral weren't involved in the construction of this ordinance. It was a pro-wind ordinance designed to allow wind to be built here. I agree with you 100% on that. My issue is twofold. This is a flawed document. It's got too many changes that we haven't even discussed as a board that need to be discussed before we put it in front of the people. And I know you want to put it in front of the people November 6th because that's a big voter turnout. But I again say there is no urgency, in the words of the, can I call you the wind developer? Mr. Carroll, the wind developer.
Probably the nicest
they don't have any intention of starting a project for 1 to several years. We have time as a board. This is not a rushed issue. We have time as a board to discuss these changes, make the changes that are in that ordinance, and there's a ton of them, and then put it to the people for a vote at a different time. I think we're doing a disservice to the citizens of the town of Dixfield by asking them to vote on something that is not truly what they're voting on, and that needs all of the legal changes.
We've been talking about him for how many years now? It's been 4 years, 5 years? I'm not really sure. But I've never really had a feeling how the town of Dixfield felt about wind. And I think, you know, we've been kind of rehashing this thing for how many meetings now we've been talking about this. And I'd like to get behind this. I'd like to say, finally I'd like to be able to say, well, the town of Dixfield either likes it or they don't like it, and this is the way we're going to go. And I represent the people of the town, not just any developer or anybody else. So that's what I want to hear, and I'd like to hear it this November.
I agree with you that it should, however, that question should say, do the people of the town of Dixfield, would they support a wind project in the town of Dixfield, yes or no? They shouldn't be asked to be voting on a document, a wind energy ordinance, an actual ordinance.
But if you read the sentence, the 2 sentences there, I think it explains it very well. The yes vote means that wind farms will be allowed, etc. A no vote means that we will begin the process of prohibiting wind farms.
Right, but the parameters of how they will be allowed is absolutely
there
confused.
aren't
it's
any
muddy.
parameters right there.
It's as clear as mud how those parameters are going to be set, the way that ordinance is written right now.
To me, it's very clear what they're voting on. Yes or no?
With 90 changes, you're going to have to make changes, and then the people are going to have to vote on it again. You're asking them to vote. When are they going to vote on it again?
Either way, we're going to have another vote.
way it goes, you're gonna have to have another
If there's
vote.
if they vote
So why
no-
don't we get it right and have one vote? Why don't we get it right, get this ordinance right, follow the legal advice that's been provided to us that we asked for, get it right and put it in front of the people for a vote once and for all. It'll be done, not vote now, okay, now we'll change it, then we'll vote again. Or vote no, okay, now we'll write another ordinance and you'll vote again.
Yeah, but this is the time you get the biggest turnout, and this is the time you're gonna get the
We'll
the
get it at the
biggest-
town meeting in next year.
Well, you know what happens at town meeting votes. You have 35, 40 people show up. This one, you're gonna have 1,000 to 1,200 people vote.
I will not support the question the way it's written, to ask them to vote on a wind energy ordinance that we've got legal advice to change. We're disregarding legal advice and just going because you wanna put it behind you.
No, we wanna put it before the people, and we'll let the citizens.
It's in-
And I've heard nothing, it's the citizens that need to have the choice. I wanna hear what the citizens
I
have.
think they should have an accurate choice,
Well, they're gonna have a choice, yes or no.
not with my vote.
Where do we stand on this one, on the ballot?
What I've come down to here is, as Mr. Daly is speaking out, I will hold AvCog, John Maloney's opinion that stated, it is my opinion that the ordinance needs additional work prior to any voter action. I understand this is the presidential election. I realize you're gonna have the most people voting. But as we're finding out with the RSU 10 thing, the rush and not investigating, seems to be a lot of walk back and people regret doing such things. And where he has recommended this, where the lawyers have recommended more, I'm not in favor of putting the ordinance in front of them.
I think you're creating your own urgency.
Yeah.
I really do, because if everything that Mr. Carroll is telling us is factual, I'm not saying it's not, but if it is, there is no urgency here, other than what you're creating for yourself.
Well, do you wish to make a motion?
No, I don't.
Okay. Then I am going to sign.
There's 3 originals there, I think, Mac.
Okay.
Is this for the ballot?
This
Yeah.
is the warrant that
That puts the ballot before the people and.
puts the ballot before the
Yeah.
people. The ballot is already out, people have started voting on it. And this is
I think
the posting of the warrant.
what people should understand is, when I'm pressed to make a motion, and then the motion doesn't pass, I understand how the political action works on that. But I will not support that ballot, and I won't sign it, so. I would support the other questions that are on there, definitely.
What does that mean by?
Question 1,
Does that mean that doesn't go on the ballot, or?
There's 3 there, Bob, 3 signatures.
Three signatures. No.
There's really 3 of those red tags, if you look, they're just all look the same.
Okay.
there's one article, Article 1, to elect by secret ballot, 1 selectman, assessor, overseer of the poor, which we know there's a vacant seat created by Catherine Harvey's resignation. Question 2 is, shall an ordinance entitled Wind Energy Ordinance for the town be enacted? That's the one I have opposition to. I feel that it's not proper to put it in front of the voters. Article 3, I don't have a problem with that. We had the public hearing favoring a petition for withdrawal from RSU, if you remember that. Article 4 was asking
I assume you're not gonna sign it either, right?
if we would authorize $50,000 through taxation to do the research on that. And those are the questions.
But now, is this going to be on the ballot now?
Yes.
Yeah,
Legally?
the ballots are out, people are voting, any election would come after the election, and any challenge would come after the votes.
I think it needs to be made perfectly clear that I oppose that, in case down the road there's some kind of legal action involved with this, so, that I don't wanna be part of.
Okay. SRF loan application?
Yeah, Al Hodson acting, on our behalf, as part of his services, which really drew him to us as the engineer, why he was selected as our engineer, was he prided himself on being able to find pots of money to help us get through our capital projects. And one of those pots of money is state revolving loan funds. And he has put in your packet, you can see that he's put in a couple of applications on our behalf. One is to do pump station upgrades, water station pump upgrades, including a generator, so that if this funding is approved, then you have a choice whether to go with what the engineer is proposing for pump station upgrades, including the generator, or going through the normal budget process and using our capital money. The second loan is for the replacement of water pipes in the Pine Street, High Street, Rose Street area, Dix Avenue, and Kidder. And again, these are nothing more than applications. If we are notified and these applications are successful, you as a board will have to determine whether you want to go through with these projects, if you find them worthy. So this is an FYI, but depending on what we're notified by state revolving loan funds, you might have to probably have to take action in the future. So those applications are there. And unless there's questions, I can move on to town manager's report. Any questions?
Still trying to read this.
Oh, yeah.